According to the American Psychological Association, APA, sexual orientation refers to an enduring pattern of emotional, romantic, and/or sexual attractions to men, women, or both sexes. Sexual orientation also refers to a person's sense of identity based on those attractions, related behaviors, and membership in a community of others who share those attractions. The APA goes on to say that sexual orientation ranges along a continuum, from exclusive attraction to the other sex to exclusive attraction to the same sex. This argument says that ancient biblical writers were unaware that some people were innately attracted to the same sex. If they had known this, then they probably wouldn't have spoken negatively about same-sex sexual relations. The reason why Paul argued as he did is that he believed that all people were heterosexual, writes Bill Loader, an affirming scholar. Megan DeFranza likewise says, if Paul were confronted with same-sex attracted Christians unable to change their orientation, I do not believe that he would respond with the same words we find in Romans, 1 Corinthians, and 1 Timothy. Points of agreement. This argument highlights at least one solid point. Our modern understanding of same-sex orientation is more advanced than what we find in ancient literature. Many in-depth studies have been done on sexual orientation, and some scholars have devoted their entire careers to understanding it. As modern interpreters of an ancient text, we should always be cautious about reading the Bible through a modern, Western, post-Enlightenment lens. And a plain reading of the Bible shows that it doesn't talk about sexual orientation, at least in its modern form. It talks about sexual behavior and even sexual desire, but it doesn't specifically talk about the exact thing we now call same-sex sexual orientation. Response. As I've considered this argument, two concerns come to mind. First, I think it's overstating the case to say that the notion of sexual orientation was absent in the ancient world, as James Brownson says. Some ancient writers did talk about an innate and seemingly fixed desire for the same sex that some people are born with. They didn't call it sexual orientation, but the characteristics of what they were describing do seem to overlap quite a bit with our modern concept. Aristotle said that some same-sex desires come from habit, but others spring from nature. This isn't exactly a quote from the APA, but the mention of nature is interesting. Another ancient writer believed that some men desire to play the passive role in same-sex intercourse because of a biological defect. His theory is absurd and medically invalid, but the point is he believed that a particular form of same-sex erotic desire was biological and inborn. Parmenides, an early 5th century BC philosopher, believed that men who desired to be penetrated were generated in the act of conception. Likewise, a Greek physician from Ephesus named Soranus, who lived around the same time as Paul, believed that homoerotic desires were shaped more by nature than by nurture. That is, men didn't just freely choose to have sex with men, but they were driven to do so from an internal desire. Again, I'm not saying these authors believed in the same thing we call same-sex orientation, but there is at least some overlap, some semblance of our modern concept. Sexual behavior is described as the byproduct of an innate desire. The one scholar who's probably done the most work on this question is Bernadette Bruton. In her book Love Between Women, Bruton shows that some ancient writers believed that same-sex desires were fixed at birth. She gets this from looking at various medical, astrological, and magical texts. We'll see why these sources are important in a second. One text says, if the sun and moon are in masculine signs and Venus is also in a masculine sign in a woman's chart, women will be born who take on a man's character and desire intercourse with women like men. Another text written around the time of Paul says that if the sun and moon are at a particular location when a woman is born, she will be a lesbian, desirous of women, and if the native is a male, he will be desirous of males. After looking at many more examples, Bruton concludes, contrary to the view that the idea of sexual orientation did not develop until the 19th century, the astrological sources demonstrate the existence in the Roman world of the concept of a lifelong erotic orientation. And many scholars agree with Bruton.